What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel!
Today we are diving back into a world of secrets and hidden power, where nothing is as it seems and every shadow hides a deadly truth. Deep, menacing, a low, guttural growl vibrates through the air, signaling that something predatory is lurking in the shadows. Suddenly, a pair of razor-sharp fangs are revealed, dripping with saliva, ready to strike at any moment. The young man freezes, his eyes wide with sudden realization. The danger is much closer than he ever imagined. A sudden, piercing scream shatters the silence, catching everyone completely off guard. The young man freezes, his eyes wide behind his glasses, as he realizes something is terribly wrong. In the chaos, a massive shadow lunges forward, turning a moment of stillness into a fight for survival. Gasping. The impact was sudden and brutal, leaving the young student reeling from an unexpected blow. A piercing cry echoed through the chaos, calling out a name in pure desperation. As the dust settled, the true scale of the confrontation began to reveal itself, leaving everyone breathless. A sudden, guttural groan pierces the night as a massive, shadowy figure looms over the unsuspecting pair. The realization hits like a physical blow. This isn't just a myth. They are facing a real werewolf. Panic begins to set in. The young woman tries to steady her companion, her voice trembling as she desperately pleads for him to stay calm amidst the encroaching darkness. But there is no room for fear here. A sudden, sharp movement signals a decisive strike. He's not running. He's preparing to eliminate the threat once and for all. Determined, a single, burning resolve flickers in the darkness. The weight of a fallen lineage rests solely on these shoulders, driving a desperate need to reclaim what was lost. Hair action, without warning. The silence is shattered by a sudden, violent movement. Hand suspenseful. A blur of motion strikes through the air, leaving nothing but chaos in its wake. The battle for restoration has truly begun. A sudden, violent movement catches everyone off guard, leaving the young woman screaming in pure terror as she loses her footing. The world seems to freeze for a moment. Eyes widen in disbelief as the gravity of the situation begins to sink in. A desperate cry pierces through the air, calling out a name. As the chaos reaches a breaking point, a sudden, violent impact shatters the silence, leaving the young man reeling from the force of the blow. Panic sets in as a companion rushes to her side, her voice trembling with desperate concern for her friend's safety. But as the dust settles, a single, haunting question hangs in the air, questioning the true motive behind this sudden act of heroism. The tension reaches a breaking point as the young woman erupts in defiance, her voice trembling with raw emotion. She refuses to back down, declaring that she simply cannot stand by while her friend faces such peril. A heavy silence falls over the room, thick with the weight of the unfolding crisis. As the shadows loom, the true scale of the danger begins to reveal itself, leaving everyone breathless. The air grows heavy as a warning echoes through the halls. A sense of dread settles in as the realization hits that a young life is hanging in the balance. With eyes sharp and full of certainty, the professor confronts the truth, demanding validation for the danger that looms ahead. But then, a chilling impossibility arises. How could a mere human bridge the gap to communicate with a creature of myth? The mystery deepens as the impossible becomes reality. A terrifying presence looms, its predatory eyes fixed on the target. The beast speaks with a chilling calmness, promising no harm. But the underlying threat is unmistakable. Suddenly, a violent movement shatters the silence. The creature lunges, its sheer power creating a shockwave through the air. The students stand frozen, caught in the middle of a nightmare. As the massive shadow moves, they realize that their lives are hanging by a single thread. Hello, menacing tone. Out of the shadows, a beast emerges, its eyes filled with primal hunger and a low, terrifying growl that chills the very air. Hair reflective. But the tension breaks as the group realizes the true source of the commotion was nothing more than a small, misunderstood pup, leaving them questioning if they've been on edge for far too long. The shadows are lengthening, and the uncertainty is suffocating. We know a threat is lurking, but its true nature remains hidden in the dark. With a look of pure desperation, the professor pleads for trust, acknowledging his heavy words, yet begging for one moment of faith. Standing face to face with a massive, predatory beast, the man remains unnervingly calm. He raises a hand, offering a promise of peace to the creature that could end him in a single bite. But his true focus isn't on the danger in front of him. He's thinking about a much more fragile life, a sick child whose condition is rapidly worsening. Holding a small vial, he reveals a desperate hope. The medicine is weak, but it might just be enough to buy that child a little more time. Can intense. The tension in the air was suffocating as the massive, predatory beast lunged forward, its claws ready to strike. But the young man didn't flinch. Gripping a small vial tightly, he prepared to unleash a power that could change the course of this encounter. The silence of the night was suddenly shattered by a deafening roar that signaled a deadly presence had arrived. In a flash of blinding light, a monstrous beast lunges forward, leaving the young man caught in the middle of a life or death struggle. Suspenseful, a sudden, violent surge of energy erupts, tearing through the silence like a thunderclap. The blinding light consumes everything in its path, leaving no doubt that a powerful force has been unleashed. Harn aggressive, a sudden, deafening roar shatters the silence as a monstrous beast emerges from the light,
its jaws wide and ready to strike!
Suspenseful. The sheer power radiating from the creature sends a wave of dread through the air, signaling a confrontation that cannot be ignored. Emotional amidst the chaos, a single, haunting whisper echoes the names of those left behind, leaving a heavy weight of uncertainty. The peaceful atmosphere of the academy was shattered in an instant as a monstrous presence loomed over the students. A mysterious figure steps into the light, his presence commanding immediate attention. His arrival poses a single, chilling question. What are you doing here? Han energetic. Get ready, because things are about to reach a breaking point. A single point of singularity is about to emerge, and nothing will ever be the same. Shocked. A sudden, piercing realization strikes like lightning, leaving her completely breathless. The name of the professor echoes in her mind, sending a wave of pure terror through her body. Stuttering and unable to find her footing, she struggles to even form a single word. The tension in the room was palpable as the mysterious instructor abruptly cut the conversation short, demanding silence and an explanation that was yet to come. But the students weren't ready to let the truth slip away. One student lunged forward, desperate to stop the sudden departure, fearing that what was left unsaid could change their lives forever. The tension in the room reaches a breaking point as a desperate plea cuts through the silence. With eyes wide in fear, he shouts that the beast might actually understand human speech, begging for a momentary delay in the execution. But the response is cold and dismissive, leaving everyone wondering if this gamble will lead to salvation or certain death. A sharp gaze pierces through the darkness, filled with a realization that could change everything. The truth is starting to surface. What once seemed like mere rumors is now becoming an undeniable reality. The predator is closer than anyone imagined. As the light fades, a chilling realization sets in. The nightmare is no longer a myth. Suspenseful. A sudden realization strikes as a familiar face emerges from the shadows, bringing an unexpected tension to the air. The young man's eyes widen behind his glasses, his breath catching as he locks eyes with the figure before him. A single, whispered word hangs in the silence, leaving both of them questioning what this encounter truly means. As the realization sinks in, the atmosphere grows heavy with secrets. What could this unexpected discovery lead to? A sudden violent impact shatters the silence, sending a wave of pure agony through the air. The instructor's face freezes in total disbelief. Something has gone horribly wrong, and the realization is starting to sink in. A sudden burst of light pierces through the darkness, signaling a sudden and violent change in the atmosphere. The young man watches in disbelief as the surrounding area is engulfed by an uncontrollable inferno. Amidst the chaos, a figure emerges through the heat, weapon drawn and ready to face the unfolding disaster. The flames roared with a terrifying hunger, casting long, dancing shadows across the battlefield. Amidst the chaos, a silent tension hung in the air between the two figures, as the heat of the fire mirrored the rising stakes of their confrontation. A single bead of sweat rolled down his face, his eyes wide with a realization that could change everything. The battle was far from over, and the true danger was only just beginning to reveal itself. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife, as a chilling declaration echoes through the flames. A stern warning is issued, promising that every act of defiance will be met with consequences. There is no escaping the accountability coming tomorrow. As the heat rises, the weight of this threat looms over the shadows, leaving everyone wondering what the dawn will bring. The command was clear and unmistakable. Return to the dormitory immediately. No explanation was given, leaving only a sense of growing unease in the air. As the night deepened, the shadows seemed to stretch longer, hiding secrets yet to be revealed. Under the vast, silent sky, a storm was quietly gathering. The atmosphere in the room turned ice, cold as the realization set in. The group sat in stunned silence, paralyzed by the weight of their current situation. Panic began to surge through them. They couldn't believe their luck had run out so spectacularly. Of all the people to be caught by the professor,
It had to be them!
others' internal monologue. A single mistake can unravel a carefully crafted lie. He realizes that by exposing a mere loophole, he has inadvertently stepped into a much more dangerous role than intended. The young woman's eyes narrow, her expression hardening, as the weight of the situation settles in. The silence in the room is deafening. As he stares into the distance, the realization hits. There is no turning back now. The shadows of the academy are closing in, and the truth is becoming impossible to hide. A sudden, cheerful voice cuts through the silence, calling out to the group with an unexpected warmth. The elegant figure appears, wearing a bright smile that masks the underlying tension of their recent struggles, asking if the wait was too long.
Shock it.
The atmosphere instantly turned heavy as a sudden realization hit the group. The unexpected arrival of the highest authority was the last thing they anticipated. Despite the visible tension, the figure remained composed, calmly inviting the trio to settle in and find their seats. But beneath the polite request, a deeper realization began to sink in. The fact that the leader had traveled here in person meant something much more serious was unfolding. The weight of the situation is becoming impossible to ignore. The consequences are no longer just a warning. They are a looming reality. It's clear that this isn't just a simple reprimand. The disciplinary measures being prepared are far more severe than anyone anticipated. With a piercing gaze, the authority figure confronts the group, forcing them to face the gravity of their recent actions. The realization sinks in. This isn't just about a penalty point anymore. Something much more dangerous is at play. Serious. The atmosphere in the room turned ice, cold as the instructor's gaze pierced through the students. His words were a sharp warning. Their reckless behavior from the previous night was a luxury they could no longer afford. The weight of his words sank in. One wrong move, and the cost of their negligence would have been a life lost. The silence in the room was deafening, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths that threatened to shatter the peace of the academy. A voice broke the tension, attempting to ease the growing dread. The instructor urged everyone to calm down and warned against scaring the students. But the gravity of the situation was undeniable. This wasn't just a minor incident, it was a crisis that could no longer be ignored. The interrogation began with a seemingly innocent question, probing into the recent events that had left everyone shaken. The investigator pressed further, noting how thoroughly the details of the incident had been laid out. But then, the real bombshell dropped, revealing a heroic sacrifice that no one saw coming. The air in the room turned ice, cold as the truth began to unravel. A desperate plea for mercy fell on deaf ears, leaving only stuttering denials. There was no room for debate. The instructor's gaze was piercing, making it clear that the reckless behavior had consequences that couldn't be ignored. The verdict was delivered like a hammer blow. 10 penalty points for everyone involved. A heavy silence followed, but the real shock was yet to come. The tension finally breaks, as a surprising reward is announced. The instructor can no longer deny the bravery displayed during the recent crisis. With the chaos behind them, a sudden decision is made to grant 20 award points to each of the 3 students. The news hits them like a lightning bolt.
They can barely believe their ears.
But as the excitement fades, a lingering doubt remains. They can only hope that the senior professor won't have any objections to this sudden reward. With a heavy heart and eyes cast downward, the young man bows in total submission, acknowledging the weight of the command he has just received. The high-ranking figure offers a cold directive, demanding continued diligence, leaving no room for hesitation or failure in the days to come. A sudden, sharp sound echoes through the hallway, freezing everyone in their tracks. The young man stops dead in his tracks, his eyes narrowing behind his glasses, as he senses something is deeply wrong. Silence falls over the corridor, heavy with an unspoken threat that lingers in the air. The tension in the room was palpable, as a heavy question hung in the air, demanding an answer from the man in charge. He admitted he never expected such a request, but his true motive was far more sinister. He needed to protect his own reputation at any cost, even if it meant using those children as pawns. With a look of doubt, the woman questions the truth of the situation, pressing for any sign of something unusual regarding the lycanthropes. The man remains firm, insisting that no matter how many times he reviews the facts, nothing about the creatures seemed out of the ordinary. But as the realization sinks in, a heavy silence falls. if there's no clue to follow. Their options have completely run out. With the immediate danger past, a sense of profound relief washes over the group. As the weight of recent tragedies begins to lift, the young student expresses deep gratitude to the instructor, acknowledging that without his intervention, the cost of the recent conflict would have been far more devastating. But as the tension settles, a new expectation is set. The eyes are now fixed on the future, waiting to see if the instructor can maintain this incredible streak of success. The rain falls relentlessly, mirroring the heavy atmosphere within the silent room. A lone figure sits in contemplation, lost in the shadows of a quiet, desolate evening. Every drop against the glass seems to echo the weight of secrets held close to the chest, as the world outside fades into a blur of gray. But beneath that calm exterior, a sharp, piercing gaze reveals a mind constantly calculating. Something is brewing, and the calm is about to break. Suspenseful. Everything seemed quiet, but a sudden shift in the atmosphere signaled that something was about to go wrong. Suddenly, a powerful presence emerged from the shadows, radiating a golden, overwhelming energy that demanded attention. The ground trembled as the beast's arrival sent a shockwave through the forest, leaving no doubt that a confrontation was inevitable. Deep, suspenseful, shadows loom over the academy, and a chilling atmosphere begins to settle over the grounds. Han calmly. But for him, the truth was never hidden. To him, the outcome was already certain.
The tension is rising!
The physical state of the body was becoming increasingly unstable. It was a human form, but it hadn't yet undergone the full, terrifying transformation into a werewolf. A chilling realization begins to settle in. As the truth comes to light, the man can't help but stare in disbelief at the figures before him. The horrifying truth is revealed. These creatures weren't born from beasts at all. The legends were a lie. They didn't use wolves to create their monsters. They used something far more precious. They used human beings. Fun, intense. A horrific transformation is unfolding right before our eyes. As a nightmare begins to take shape, the unthinkable has happened. The innocent have been corrupted, twisted into something monstrous. In a single, devastating moment, they were turned into werewolves, leaving nothing but chaos and fear in their wake. As the dust settles, a small, lonely figure remains, left behind in the silence of the aftermath. But the tension isn't over. A glimpse into what's coming next reveals faces filled with shock and brewing conflict. The path ahead is getting even more dangerous. Stay tuned, because the real storm is just beginning.